Welcome to the 12 Days of DFIRmas, where we celebrate the people, research, and tools that continue to push digital forensic community forward. Today, I'm excited to welcome Josh Hickman to the podcast. Josh is someone many of you know for his deep technical research, his thoughtful approach to mobile forensics, and most importantly, his commitment to giving back to the DFIR community. All right, so Josh, thank you so much for being on the show. Yep. Can you tell our listeners who are not familiar with your work a little bit about your background and what you do?
Sure. Name is Josh Hickman, and I've been doing digital forensics now for around a little over 12 years now, I think. I started out doing digital forensics in law enforcement. I come from a law enforcement background. I was a police officer in the town that I grew up in, and then eventually made my way to the state police, so State Bureau of Investigation in North Carolina. Initially, digital forensics was not even anything on my radar. And eventually, though, I made my way to our computer crimes unit, and that's where I got sucked into digital forensics. I worked on the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force for the state, and initially started out. I hated doing mobile phone forensics. Absolutely cannot stand it. Anytime I got it, yeah, weird, right? Anytime I started, I got a phone that I seized for whatever I was working on. We had a guy. I was like, here you go, just don't even. And if I had a phone and he wasn't available, if it was an iPhone, I was okay with it. I was like, all right, cool. I can do this. Android, absolutely not. Team Green, I would automatically just put that to the side and wait for him to do, because I hated it. And anyway, as it turns out, I got married, started a family at that point, and decided to come out of law enforcement. But I stayed in government service and ended up at the state crime lab here, managed the digital forensics unit there. And that's kind of where I got attached, or kind of like mobile phone forensics. I was like, oh, this is actually not too bad, not as bad as I thought. And as it turns out, we started getting like a lot of phones because Gray Key had just landed, had just gotten released publicly. And we just onslaught of phones. And so I'm just phone after phone after phone after phone. And I had kind of like, okay, phones are not bad. And then I got the hang of it. And I was like, okay, this is actually pretty fun. I actually enjoy it. Around that time, I met Jessica Hyde. And let me back up. So the lab was ISO 17025. And so we had to do like performance verifications of all of our tooling per that spec. And we did not have any known data for phones. So that's where the public images actually started. We were creating these internally to use for performance verification. I met Jess Hyde at that point. And, she's like, oh, this is great. Maybe might be some public usage out of this. It's like, okay, cool. So she connected me with Simpson Garfinkel, who does Digital Corpora, and that's how that all started. It was strictly something that we used internally. That, as it turns out, there was a wider need there. And she actually encouraged me to do, her and Phil Moore from Down Under. Those two actually encouraged me to start the blog, and that's kind of how all of that just kind of transpired. It just so happens those pieces all fell into place, and 8 years later, here I am. I work at Celebrate now. Yeah, it's just
for someone who hated mobile, he working for Celebrate.
Yeah, like the way that I got here.
The irony.
Just absolute, yeah, I blinked and here I am. But no, it's a pretty long trip to get where I was at. But I'm thankful for all that, because I learned a lot along the way. And but yeah, that's how I got started, was just internal need.
Did you ever think you were going to get into digital forensics?
No, not really. I've always had, I hate tooting my own horn, but I've always had some type of technical acumen. Like, I built PC, like the very first PC I ever owned was one that my family bought. But eventually, when it came time to upgrading and new PCs, I built them, and I learned from watching other people and talking to other people. And so I just had that acumen to me. But once I got to the state bureau here, it was kind of probably how other people kind of get it put in that position. Like I helped with like email upgrade one time. They're like, "Oh, you can work email. Here you go." Right.
You're the guy now.
Yeah, that's exactly how that worked. And in fact, when the bureau got the first set of Celebrite Touch units, I had one, and I was assigned to the southeastern part of the state at that point. So basically, from the border where Myrtle Beach is, all the way up to the southern part of the Outer Banks, I had to cover that area. But yeah, I remember running around with a touch unit, dumping phones, and yeah, I was like, and it was okay, right? Because I didn't have to do any analytical work to it. It was just a quick dump, and here you go. But yeah, once I got to the computer crimes unit, that's where I got started, really.
So the blog that you have, I mean, it's very popular now. So I guess, have you always been interested in research, or did that just evolve from the conversation that you had with Jessica and a couple of other folks about the public images?
So it kind of evolved from that to some degree. One of the things that the very first article in there dealt with Android Auto, and that was a direct result of some casework I had finished. And I went to our lab director and I was like, obviously I can't talk about casework publicly, but this might be useful to some other people. And so they were actually pretty supportive of that. And I ended up taking the contents of that article to the Digital Forensic Research Workshop that year to present. And they were supportive of that too. They were cool with it. And yeah, after that, it just kind of snowballed from there. Like I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I was on an automotive kick. The next one was, Google Assistant, which was derived from that, and then Apple CarPlay from there. And it was just from there, it was like stuff that I would be interested in, or things that I would read about, or something that Google may have, like some new feature. They're like, okay, there might be something here that could be useful. And the public images really helped with that, because that gave me data that I knew what should be there, and that would give me, so not only does this benefit other people, but from a research perspective, it also benefits me to have data to go back and look for. Plus now, working at Celebrite, it helps, because if I need to troubleshoot PA, I have a set of data that I know what should be there, and I can plug that in real quick and just can get answers somewhat quickly when I'm trying to troubleshoot something.
No, I've used your images as well. They've helped me in my career, and they also help me now in ArcPoint, because like when we're trying to test new features and stuff like that in our tool sets.
Oh yeah,
we're using your images.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I put those out there for anybody to use. I don't, there's obviously it's hard to keep personal data, like my location. Like if you look at those extractions, pretty much everyone can figure out where I live. So there's some data leakage there, and I'm fine with it. But I still get requests from people saying, hey, is it cool if I use it for X? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Right. The nice thing about WordPress is that you can see like roughly where the traffic is coming from. And I see a lot of educational institutions, which is great. Because I think our generation of examiners, I'm pretty sure we would all like to retire at some point. And so we need to get this next generation ready for the challenges that they're going to come across. And so if there's anything that I can do to like help facilitate that, sign me up, because at some point, I would like to be retired on a beach somewhere, hanging out with my family and not having to, chase down the latest artifact. Right.
What? That sounds so relaxing. You could do that on the beach. It's fine.
Well, a laptop works. I mean, right. I can hotspot my phone, but no, I think it's important to make sure that the next gen coming in behind us is well prepared, for what all the new things that, they're going to have to deal with. Like I look at who was kind of at the forefront when I first got started, right? It was, Harlan, Heather, Sarah Edwards, all of these people in that space that I learn from. And so if there's anything that I can do, and they help me, right? So if I can do that for some other people, however that looks, then yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
So I had a question. How many hours does it take for you to generate these images?
Oh man.
Like how many, like
Uh,
on average, what do you spend?
oh, I've never actually thought about that. I don't think about it in terms of hours. I think about it in terms of like months. Because I have to get, and it's taken me a while to kind of get that, that whole process honed. So something that's a little bit streamlined. It can take a few months just to generate the data. And a lot of it depends on like how busy I am with other things that I have going on. So there could be like a gap there. And sometimes you can kind of figure out when that happens. But when it comes time, like once that image is finalized, getting the paperwork together, minimum 2.5 to 3 weeks just to get the paperwork finalized. As it turns out, I'm actually typing a lot of that paperwork as I proceed, but there are other things that I do, like when I'm out, like not in front of a computer where I can type. Like if I take a picture when I'm out and about, or if I share a location or some of those things, I also have to take into account like certain artifacts, like like cache.sqlite in iOS, you have shelf life of like 7 days, right? So I have to make sure that if I want to have enough data in there that's not my house, I have to be out and about for a while and then do the image. So there's a lot of choreographing that has to go on, especially when we start talking about like location data or other features that are specific to the native OS. So it's some months to get it generated, and then usually about 3 weeks to get the paperwork finalized. And even then, it's like I still find typos after I finish it out.
Always, we always do.
Oh man, I still get contacts. People like, hey, your paperwork says this, and I actually have a set of Apple Notes that I keep, and I keep those indefinitely. So I go back and look through the notes, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a typo on my part. I transposed a digit here or there somewhere, but it takes months and then some weeks afterwards to get that done. My wife hates it because it's minimum 3 phones with me at all times: personal phone, iOS, Android. We went to I mentioned this earlier, but we went to Iceland last year, and I actually had four phones on me at all times: personal, Android, iOS for the public images, and then the CTF phone for this year was with me. Yeah, we start doing the CTF stuff, usually a month or two after. And so I was like, oh, this would be awesome to have Iceland in a CTF phone. So yeah, she hated me. She's like, she calls me a nerd. She's like, you're such a nerd, taking all this stuff with you. And my kid, he's like, Dad, you don't have all your phones. I'm like, I know.
He's like,
he knows. He's so that. Yeah, like right after I finished the public images for last year, I was still just walking around with 2. He's like, Dad, you're missing 2 phones. I'm like, I know. It's great, and it's like tapping your pockets when you're walking out the door. You're like, do I have all of my phones? Right. So
I don't have that problem. I have 1 phone. I
am envious of you.
The life of luxury.
Yeah. I'm so envious.
I think I just wanted to ask, because I think a lot of people misunderstand how, like, they don't understand the entire process of when you're building out a data set using a phone, right? Because we take advantage of the fact, like, oh, I have my phone on me all the time and I'm constantly generating this data and I don't really think about what's going on in the background. But then if you're having to build a clean data set for someone else to use, it's a taxing process.
Yeah, it is. It's like I said, there is data leakage in them. I've had a few educational institutions saying, "Hey, this stuff is in here." I was like, "I know, I'm well aware of those things, and there's literally nothing I can do." And I think iOS is worse than Android as far as like cross accounts getting leaked into other spaces. I have fake personas that I use, but there's just no way around a lot of it. And that's the nature of it.
Well,
So like
and now
people know our
everyone knows, right? The truth. Evidence is evidence. There's no way
it
around
is. I
it.
mean, yeah, and it's one thing I always tell people about these data sets, like I try to take into account like popular apps and functions. I cannot cover everything. And if I tried to cover everything, these things would never ever get released. Like I have to like, okay,
Oh yeah.
this is the line. That's it. And so a lot of times when people use them, great. But just know that like they may not be useful to you if you're trying to, if you're in the middle of casework and you need to test or find something out. My sets may have them, they may not. You may have to go out and generate your own, and there's no way around that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's normal with a lot of the casework that we're looking at is if you have to test something, one, it takes a long time to test it because you have to go out and either use your personal data or find something. So thank you for giving back to the community because the majority of the time we can just use those images. But a lot of individuals don't understand like what's fully left behind too. So it's not ever going to be a clean set ever.
No, and if you're the nice thing that happened a couple of years ago is SWIG-DE got together and they put out a set of guidelines about how to do that properly and how to document it. I was fortunate enough to work with Jess and some other folks at SWIG and NIST actually, because they were part of that process to come up with those guidelines that eventually got published. So, if you're worried about where you need to start or have questions about that paper is a absolute great resource. They even have like a go by for like documentation. And, we when we created that, we had different practitioners from different areas. So like private sector, NIST being the kind of scientific arm, but then we had, law enforcement in there as well to kind of, okay, this could stand scrutiny within a courtroom. So, we had all that in mind when we made those guidelines.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal because I've heard it referenced in court cases.
Jess had to reference that in a very popular case from last year, as a matter of fact. So
yes.
I won't call the case, but yeah, she ended up having to cite that at some point.
Was that kind of a surreal moment? Were you like
having to cite yourself?
I was like a part of this.
And
that case was so popular. At any given time, I think there was about 30,000 people watching at any given time.
I knew I hit the big time when my wife was like, "Did you know about this case?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I know all about it." I had. It was funny watching Jess, and I actually talked about it later on after she could talk about it, and she's like, "Yeah, I had to cite myself." I was like, "That's pretty awesome that you had to cite yourself like that," because she was part of that process, and she's part of that group that came up with that. So. Kudos to her. And, but yeah, that case was just, man, I felt bad for Ian and everybody else.
Bad for everybody. It was like, it was a lot of questioning. It was crazy. It was hard. It was hard for me to keep up, and I'm in the industry, right? It to be like, wait, what was this question? Or like, I don't know. Neither here or there.
Yeah. Right.
So for the working group, they get together though. They have like a full conference and everything. Is it twice a year now?
I think it's at least twice. I went to one in 24 with the intent to do it a second time, so I could become a standing member, and my schedule just absolutely fell apart. Some of my responsibilities in PA increased, and so there was some more traveling that occurred, and I couldn't swing it. So I'm going to try it again, assuming that the schedule works out. But that group is great. There's practitioners from literally every nook and cranny in digital forensics. So that's like the amount of brain power in that group it's astonishing.
And it's not product agnostic or company agnostic. It's just digital forensic nerdery.
Yeah. So people, I mean, the third-party tool vendors do have some members that are part of that, but it's a very small footprint compared to everyone else that is coming from like government and academia. it's a really great mix, and so you get a lot of different points of view, which is great when you're having to come up with guidance for such a large community. And but like I said, the talent and the knowledge there it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you even mentioned the name of your blog. It's the Binary Hick, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Love the
binary
name.
hick. Yeah.
So,
I had some people when I first started in law enforcement, my field training officer, some of the other people on my squad called me Hick. We all went by last names and they just shortened it. And so that stuck. And so when I was trying to come up with something for a blog, I was like, what the hell do I even call this thing? And I was like, okay, binary hick, cool. Done. It just stuck.
well, I think it's really neat. It's also been around for a while, and I know it's like has all sorts of different resources on it. And you talk about the previous generation and giving back. So,
Mhm.
how, like, what do you recommend for individuals? Because I know I always ask this because I think there's a lot of new examiners that are coming out that listen to podcasts and are looking for different advice and mentorship and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
how do you choose your projects? Do you take in a list? Do you generate that based off of just what you're seeing? What is your process?
I usually look for um, like where there is some perceived need, and the ideas behind that could come from any number of places. It could come from looking at the DFIR Discord and seeing like, oh, there's been a lot of questions about this particular subject. I also look at like just tech articles, not necessarily like digital forensics blogs, but like places like Ars Technica, Wired, 404 Media, other media outlets that specialize in tech type things. And they don't take, and nothing against those media outlets, they do a really great job covering tech in general. But when tech is being talked about, usually they're talking about the user facing type functions and features and issues that maybe the public is interested in. But the forensic component is such a small niche when in their overall readership, I would imagine. And so looking at that, and that causes me to kind of tilt my head a little, like, wonder what that would look like. And so I try to identify something that has not ever actually been addressed. And when I first started, like it could be like huge, right? The scope would be huge. And I was writing like these long blog posts. I was like, it's killer. So then it's almost like a scientific process now where I have a very specific question and I ask myself that, and I kind of target the blog posts and other projects like that. So, the other thing that I typically will do is if there is existing bodies of work out there, I will check and say, okay, has there been any changes since, this has been worked on? The AirTag and the Lost Apples stuff kind of actually was derived from that. There had been some publication by Chris Vance over at Magnet about AirTag, forensically, what can you recover? And I started working on the Google variant of that kind of rolled over into Sam's presentation at the summit from 24. I continued on because there was other stuff that I was trying to figure out. There was encryption involved, and it took me forever to finally aha. And that ended up being Lost Apples because nobody was supporting those artifacts. And I had some other questions about artificial intelligence and how we can use it in digital forensics. And so that ended up being the Lost Apples project and script and all that stuff that ended up on GitHub a few weeks ago.
So yeah, so you're referencing the introducing Lost Apples, right? Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that more? Like, what is this? What does the script do? Where can people find it?
So it's actually on GitHub and it's under an MIT license, so people can download it and modify it and fork it if they need to. The idea behind that was started, like I said, from almost a year and a half ago. I had given a presentation at the SANS DFIR Summit about Google's Find My network, which is equivalent to iOS's Find My stuff. The idea being you can track your your devices, and if you have a Bluetooth tracker, you can track that. It's all crowdsourced location information. But one of the things that I discovered while I was doing that was that iOS specifically was writing data to these files in this one file system location. And as it turns out, it was like a ton of location data. And these were for trackers that had been identified as like rogue or unwanted. So if you think about iOS, when it throws that notification, hey, you got an AirTag following you, or unknown AirTag following you, it was writing all that location data to disk, but it was encrypted. And so I just stumbled across how to do that. And just a lot of trial and error. I wanted to throw my keyboard out the window at one point. I got so frustrated with it. But anyway, long story short, there's data there, and I'm still actually having some research on that component, and I was having to do all this stuff manually, like the decryption and stuff. And Ian Whiffin was nice enough to cobble something together for me to kind of make it somewhat automated, but there's still a lot of manual work involved. I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. And so our product manager at Celebrate for PA, he actually gave me the idea about possibly using AI to help with this.
Ooh, it's such a dirty word in our industry.
No, right? And that's why if you look at my blog, like the first thing it says, I promise I'm okay, right? I haven't lost my mind, and nobody's taken over my blog because I'm skeptical, and even now. And so I sat with Claude Code for several weeks and ended up coming up with this. And it's funny because I sent it to like Alexis and Heather Charpentier and Kevin Magano.
Wait,
I was like,
were they aware that this was with AI?
Yes, it was. I told them.
That was bold. That was brave.
Yeah, I told, right? Yeah, I know, right? Alexis of all people, right? No, but he, they were nice enough to like just kind of mess around with it and gave me some good hard feedback, which was nice. And usually it was in the form of a screenshot where they had an error. I'm like, oh, okay. And so this is why I don't, I was telling Ian all this as it was going on. He's like, yeah, this is welcome to software development, right? You're having to fix bugs and stuff. I'm like, but no, it's, working with that was more or less a proof of concept for me. And I don't want to give too much away because I'm actually talking about this at the C2C conference in next year in DC. Talking about like pitfalls and, how can we employ this thing in this space, and how do we do it responsibly and transparently? And
you're talking about AI.
AI in general. Yeah. The script actually, it has kind of made my life a whole lot easier now, because like I can just fire it up when I'm doing the research and I can watch it fill up the command line window as it's cruising along. But it's one of those things where the thing is not going away, and I think that and our product manager, he and I had multiple conversations about this. I was like, you know what, it's not going away anytime soon. It's literally everywhere, and I'm just, we're either going to have to just deal with it like an annoying family member, or or not, right? But it's something I think that forensic practitioners, there has to be some symbiosis going on there. We have to just live and let live, and be harmonious as much as we can. I could easily do my job even now without having it at all. But I thought it was cool to at least like share it with the community. At least, some people may find some use out of it. It works. I've tested it. I don't know how many times. I've added stuff within like the past 48 hours. I've added additional stuff to it and pushed that code up to GitHub. So, but the one thing I will say is the way that I did it, I had like the leaps in mind, because those individual scripts can actually be run by themselves in command line with you don't have to use the graphical front end to it. So, if someone ends up incorporating components of that's fine. But again, that's kind of me, trying to like, here's another resource for people to use. I joke with Alexis all the time. It's like, the reason I put these images out there is because I can't code. Like, I'm literally dragging my knuckles across the keyboard. And so like this was like, okay, cool. But it's very clear that it was written with AI. So
When you said annoying family member, like dealing with I immediately went to Inside Out and I was like, yeah, I could see adding that character in there. Like, just like you have all your feelings and then you have
yes,
AI.
yeah, you know what? That would have been a good icon. Although there's probably been some copyright issues if I had done that.
You know, we're a sticker
Uh,
industry. I feel like we need to make an AI character that fits that.
we sh- we should. Maybe
I'm just
that's the
going to put it
mascot.
out there. I don't have time to design this, so I'm going to put it out there for whoever's listening.
Well,
But
I
if you
mean,
do make one, can you send me one?
sure, absolutely. Actually, Kevin Pagano is the sticker wizard. I might
Oh,
pitch that to
that's
him.
true.
I can see
We
if he
should
can
pitch
take it.
this idea.
We should.
Yeah, that'll be good.
But no, it was interesting. It was, like I said, it's proof of concept, at least for me personally, to kind of tinker with this thing to see, what can I do with it. And there's all sorts of, I think it's one of those things that is still going to take us some time to kind of get acclimated to and figure out, like, where does this fit within our toolbox, if it even fits in the toolbox at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be the right mix, the right level of usage. Um,
Yeah.
there's obviously a lot of debate around AI and casework and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think for me, anyways, I always try to tell individuals that they need to learn what the technology is doing, how it works, before they
Yeah.
start using it. And it's hard to have that conversation, especially if you're talking to examiners who don't want to verify or don't want to learn anything other than surface level digital forensics, right? They
Yeah.
don't want to understand all of the individual little nuances that go into an examination. They just want to do one thing only. They're it's not a dig on them. It's more of like they're task oriented. They don't want to go
Yeah.
below that.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me is like when you start to give these tool sets over to individuals who have that mindset and then they don't want to dig deeper. They don't know if there's an error or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to find the right
I,
mix.
I would have never done this on an artifact or some data that I didn't have a good handle on, as far as like understanding what this actually represents in the real world, right? Like if I was not familiar with a particular artifact, I would absolutely not aim this at that, because I mean, I could tell it to do all sorts of things, but if it doesn't, like if I don't understand it, how do I explain it to this entity and expect it to go do, like I would never know if it was right or wrong. And that's the problem. And getting back to your comment about some of the younger examiners, again, I agree, not a dig on them, but give yourself a suppression hearing or a Daubert hearing one time. It's not a pleasant place to be. I could go the rest of my life without having to do another one of those, to be honest with you. And you'll learn your lesson very quickly. But yeah,
very
it's
humbling experience.
it is. You learn quickly what you don't know, which, as it turns out, is quite a bit, right? It's something that it's hard to explain to folks that haven't been in the space for very long, and it's just something you have to experience, and you learn lessons as you go. And it's just anything else, right? As you stay in it, you learn, you grow, you become wiser. You learn what not to do. And but yeah, it's being able to get on the stand, again, if you're in a criminal justice space or if you're in the civil realm, or you're doing some type of personnel action, if you're internal somewhere, being able to intelligently explain all of those things to stakeholders, whoever they are, they don't want to hear that the tool did X or the tool said X and Y, or AI said this. They don't want to hear that.
No.
I'm paying you to do this job. What did you do? And that, at the end of the day, that's they're paying you to be the expert, not
the tool set.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. No, and I think it's really important that people understand the difference. Right. And also, so I asked another individual, like, how are you so calm and cool and collected on the stand? And it's because they know their job inside and out. They know all of the details. There is still a nervous talking point, right? Public speaking and getting grilled and all this other stuff that adds into that. But in terms of like the technical know-how, calm, cool, collected. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I've studied it, I've learned it, I've verified it, I've done all these things. I didn't just click a button and hope for the best.
Yeah, I had to go testify in court back in the summer, and it was a pretty high profile case, especially for that area of the country. I won't get into specifics, but I remember sitting there kind of like you, like I was like, yeah, I've researched this. I actually wrote a blog about it. Didn't reference the case, but there's a blog that's talks about this specific thing. I had researched the crap out of it. And I remember sitting on the stand and going through the questioning, and yeah, that's at the end after I got off the stand and they adjourned for the morning break. They're like, "Oh, you're so great." I was like, I was panicking. This is all facade, right? I'm just like, I'm good, but I was always in the back of my mind. I got that thing going, like, okay, they're going to ask me some off the wall question not related to this, and everybody's going to be like, "What's the answer?" And I'm like, right, I always have that in the back of my mind, like they're going to.
But did that happen? Did that happen?
No. But I have a tendency to like think 12 steps ahead, and I will never get to that 12th step. But it's always like trying to plan for, contingencies and, other things that could possibly happen. That is actually a habit that is a throwback to my law enforcement days when I was on patrol and I would go out to these, like I would play out how these things happen in my mind. But, yeah, it's a hard habit to break. I don't think I ever will.
I think I love how you put it so elegantly. I'm like, yeah, I just plan for worst case scenario constantly. Okay. Like you're like, oh, I plan for contingencies. And I'm like, nope, I'm panicking all the time on the inside.
Yeah. Like it's on the surface, I look okay. It's like that Homer Simpson meme where he's like, he's got his hands on the tips and he's got all those pins in the back of him. That's how I feel. Like I'm just a hot mess in the back here. Don't, nothing to see there. Just
ignore it. Yeah. Actually, I had someone ask me like, oh, you do all these things and you're like, you look like you just have it together. And I'm like, thank God you can't see behind the scenes.
Oh man. I get so nervous. And this after 6 years of this, almost 7, putting out blog posts, I am so, anytime I get ready to hit publish, I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
Like, what if I got something wrong? I don't want to put bad information out there.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It took me like 3 days to finally commit this the Lost Apple stuff to make it public. It'd been sitting there for a while, and I was like, first time doing code.
Like,
people are gonna, yeah. Like I was worried. I was like, people are gonna make fun of me, right? I just like it's not gonna work, and people are like, oh, you're an idiot, right? Even to this day, one of my main concerns is putting bad information out there in the public space, and so
there's a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's the part that worries me, and I don't want to contribute to that. There was a couple of times where I actually had some mea culpa type blog posts ready to roll, and this was early on, saying, hey, I got this one wrong, but it turns out it was one of those situations where I like thought about it and I thought myself into a hole, and then I couldn't find my way out, and thinking I was wrong. And actually, my wife, she makes fun of me. She's like, you overthink everything. It's horrible. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do.
This is what I get paid for.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse
that I didn't look at.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Like we get emails that celebrate all the time from customers that have like forensic questions, and like that is always in the back of my mind. Like, gosh, like I have to get this right, like the first time out the gate. It's just my mindset. If people tell me like they're not worried about that, I would be like, are you not really? Because it's just always in the back of my mind.
Yeah. It's intimidating. It's super intimidating to put out a technical blog post. And I think a lot of, especially young examiners, even seasoned, right? Like, it's intimidating for me. No, I do not have a technical blog post sitting out there, right? But yeah, I have stuff internally for my teams and stuff like that, but it's internal. It's controlled.
Yeah. I would say that the pressure is probably the same, right?
Yeah.
You being the leader of your organization, your team expects you to know these things. And
I'm also really honest with my team. I'm also like, I have
so,
no idea what you're talking about right now.
and that is such a that is such a great point. There is no harm in saying I don't know. We're not all going to know all of the things all the time, and there's no harm in saying I don't know. Require some research on my part, and then we run off and go do research. So it's I think that's a great trait to have. Anytime like you're in the public space or in a position of leadership, that's always good to have. Being humble like that.
Just being honest. Yeah, I feel like it goes a long way.
Mhm.
And also, I'm always like amazed with, we had an intern this past summer, and just the stuff that he has come up with. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest. I've used that said tool set a million and a half times, and I didn't know that. I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, is that a new feature? That's new, right? They're like, I don't think so, and I'm like, I think it's new.
It's funny. So I actually did a Tip Tuesday for Celebrate. I can't remember if it was like early this year. I happened to be in an R&D meeting, and one of the R&D folks was like, no, you can do it. Like you could do split screen in PA. And I was like, I've been using this tool for how long? And I didn't know that. So I did the Tip Tuesday, and then I got other people internally like, I didn't know that either. And I'm like, why does nobody like?
It's like a nugget that nobody shared.
Yeah. Nobody knew. The developers knew it, but the rest of us were running around out here and didn't even know that was a thing. So, these tools now, like early on, it wasn't too bad. Not just Celebrate tools, obviously. These things have gotten so complex now, and they can do so many things. And so users, I think, when users say, well, I didn't know you could do that. Well, we need to document that better, obviously, but I don't think there's any shame in admitting like you didn't.
Oh no.
Especially these small features.
No.
But yeah, they're so complex now. They do so many things, which is great. But I think you touched on it earlier about, just, pushing a button and letting these things happen. The tools are great, but there is some responsibility that comes with them understanding what they are doing under the hood.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really important. And I think your blog does a really good job of like creating community and capturing that, like just the evolution of like the blogs over time. I like how they all play together. I meant to say that earlier, but it just popped in my head. So, hey. Well, okay, so this is a seasonal podcast. I am a lunatic because I do 12 days of podcasting, and I say every year I'm not going to do it, but here I am.
Another year.
So I have this giant sweater on that says Mary, and when I say giant, it's like,
jeez,
there could be at least 3 of me in here. So, and I did bring my festive mug, so that way it's like fits the theme. But you have a festive sweater on, so what is this one?
I do. So my wife got me this one a few years ago. And so anybody that knows me, I like the Beastie Boys, especially the early stuff. So this is a throwback to the Beastie Boys. It says...
You got to fit it all in the frame.
Yeah, there we go. So there we go. Yeah, it's my camera doesn't bend but so far. But no, this is I actually wore this a couple of years ago for our family. We do funny Christmas cards every year, and this was one of the years a couple of years ago. And she had to remind me because I was looking. I was like, I don't have any like funny sweaters or anything. She's like, use your sweatshirt. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So so I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan, and so I thought this was appropriate for our podcast.
It is appropriate. I love it. I'm also a Beastie Boys fan. So you already mentioned your holiday tradition of like your funny photos that you all take. Do you have anything else that you guys do?
Anything else? Yeah. Not sort of. So when my wife and I first started dating, my father-in-law, we would go to DC, and we'd always catch a hockey game for the Washington Capitals. And he after he passed away, unfortunately, and that kind of obviously fell by the wayside. But we started doing that again. So like last year, my wife and I caught the metro to Capital One Arena and got a good game, and I got some really great tickets this year. We're on the ice behind the bench,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, I got a really good deal on them, and so we're going to do that again this year. And I think that's probably, doing sporting events like that when we go back to DC is kind of carrying on that tradition to some degree.
That's a good tradition, and also that team is good. The energy inside that arena is amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was not like a hardcore fan or anything when we first started seeing each other, and being from North Carolina, just the assumption was always I was a Hurricanes fan. And I was like, hey, they're fine. I don't pull for any one particular team, but it's one of those things where you just kind of marry into it. So yeah, like I've got my Ovechkin jersey, and she's got her jersey as well. So we'll throw the jerseys on, hop on the metro, and catch the game. Well, I think it's the 23rd, so it's a couple of days before
wow.
Christmas.
It's really close.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. We always do an advent calendar of some sort. That's our tradition. This year it's a Minecraft Lego advent calendar. So
Works. We do advent calendars, but we don't hold we're not like tied to the schedule. So like this year, my wife has a thing about. I know, right? Oh, okay. So well, I'll do you one better. My wife got one that had a bunch of gnomes that you're supposed to hang on your Christmas tree, and after like day 3, she's like, I want all of these gnomes. So she just got them all out. And so my son's sitting there, and he's like, I'm gonna do mine too. And he had Legos. So he's like, so yeah, they went ahead and just did them all.
yeah, I think last year the Lego one we just did Legos last year. It wasn't a specific theme. It was just a Christmas tree with all sorts of different things. Or maybe that was the year before. We've been in Legos for a while now. So we went from regular Legos to Star Wars, and now we're working our way into Minecraft. So like
that is
evolution of Boy Mom. I'm learning all of the things with him.
That is the general direction. Yes, that is exactly how we started. We went Legos, and then it was like car Legos, and then Minecraft, and we're still at Minecraft. He wants to do like Roblox next, and I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good about Roblox.
This is a whole new adventure.
Yes, yeah, and there's been whispers of Fortnite too. And I was like, no, right? I could go on for days about
Actually, Fortnite is intriguing to me. So if you do try it, let me know. Yeah. So
okay,
I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone. But I used to be a gamer, and World of Warcraft was my game. And so I know World of Warcraft still exists and all this other stuff, but it's like we're not going to get into that. But for some reason, Fortnite seems really intriguing to me. I was like, it seems a little chaotic.
It does, although I do like recently they had like the Daft Punk characters, which I would be like,
see, all the characters are fun. I think that's why. I think like our generation's like, oh,
yeah, they're totally aiming at us, right? It's just I saw the Daft Punk characters, and I was like, man, that actually might get me to sign up for that because that looks like it would be fun. But no, I have old habits of working ICAC cases, and having a foot in that world, having to support people, like putting my kid online, it's just I'm dreading.
Yeah, my child doesn't know anything outside of his world in Minecraft. I don't think he knows other people are there. He's just like by himself, collecting his cats.
It was like I that's why I set, like I mentioned before we got started, that I had set up a personal server for him and some of his friends. That was the whole reason I did it, because I was like, I can't cut you loose on the internet. There's no telling where he would end up. Yeah. And who he would run into, right? That's always
they get in enough trouble. Like we were discussing before, like my kid, I don't know if I should be concerned or not, is collecting cats, and they're like in the basement of this
Yeah.
building, and then he's just like throwing chickens down. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is this?
Yeah, my kid did the cat thing, but then like at one point there's like a ton of llamas running around. I'm like, where does all these llamas come from? And he's like, oh, they just spawn here. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, put them in a pen or something, right?
Oh, mine's like so into it. So all his library books he brings home are like research books on Minecraft, like all of these things. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
like a whole new thing. I don't know if I should be concerned or not as a parent, or just like let it go. But
well, I would tell you there's a way to kind of work this to your favor. We sent ours to, there's a couple of places nearby that like coding camps type situations, and one of the classes that some of these places offer it's related to Minecraft. There's different flavors of Minecraft. There's Bedrock and then there's Java, and so like we sent our son to the Bedrock version because that's the version on the Nintendo Switch that he plays. But there's like different ways to mod it. But they actually do have some coding concepts in there that they'll teach them. So there's an educational piece to it. Yeah,
I might, because his school teaches him coding now, which I was actually really impressed with, because he's only in he's in first grade, so he's like young. He's like coding in first grade. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm a proponent of it, so it works.
Yeah, we are too. We did the same thing with ours. He goes to a robotics place now once a week, and they teach like building robots and then programming them to do different things. But like I had him on like the Swift playground on iOS when he was like 3. Wow. And it was simple stuff that he could figure it out. It was that simple. So
I had to look into that. Look at this. This podcast just morphed.
I know, right?
Parenting tips. You're welcome, everyone.
Right.
So
welcome to our talk.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really
thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
And we're gonna link all of the fun nuggets in the bottom of the show notes so that everyone can find your blog easily. If they don't already know, I feel like you're famous, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.